This Wild Boy Ron, you tuned in to Pandora World Box Show on Win DC Radio. Whoa, whoa, yeah, yeah.
What's up, y'all? It's your girl Pandora Love, and you're now tuned into the Pandora Word Box Show. Today, I have Dr. William Flip Clay in the house. We'll be discussing his release that's coming out, The Diary of an Emotionally Constipated Man. Yeah, I said it, constipated man. So, go ahead, get y'all drinks and everything, and we get ready to get into this. Be back.
chose to go to your other girl's house, and this is for all those times I needed you to be a friend, but you let me down time and time again. You're wondering how my heart is still. I prayed a lot, I cried a lot, had to let go of a lot just to thank you, thank you. Thank you for the pain. You told me a lesson that I had to learn. If I play with fire, then I will get burned. Thank you for the pain. I'll never love again. Thank you for all those times I cried myself to sleep. I couldn't eat, I couldn't see. We fell apart since you said the love was so deep. And this is for all those times my friends said you were no good, that my time and love and feelings were all you. And if you're wondering how my heart is still, I prayed a lot, I cried a lot, had to let go of a lot just to thank you, thank you. Thank you for the pain. You told me a lesson that I had to learn. If I play with fire, then I will get burned. Thank you for the pain. I'll never love again. I'll never love again. I'll never love again. My heart is still in doubt. I'll never love again. I'll never love again. My heart is still in doubt. I'll never love again. I'll never love again. My heart is still in doubt. I can say this 'cause I mean it. You are my only man. Been way too much together for me to let go of your hand. But I get this feeling sometimes you got a lady on the side. No need to front, just say I got just what you want. So why, when you leave, I guess this spell comes over me, baby. Telling me I should question everything that you tell me. Only once you're gone. Only once you're gone. I can't say this 'cause I mean it. You are the only one. But only lately feels like you using my love. I get this feeling sometimes you got a lady on the side. No need to front, just say I got just what you want. So why, when you leave, I guess this spell comes over me, baby. Telling me I should question everything that you tell me. Only once you're gone. Only once you're
What's up, y'all? It's your girl Pandora, and you're now tuned back into the Pandora Word Box Show. And today we got this serious matter. We got some real serious stuff going on. Today we have Dr. William Flip Clay in the house, and we are talking about the constipated man. That's right, I said it, the constipated man. And if you're looking on the Facebook Live or the YouTube screen, you can see the products that we have here in the house. We have a plunger, we have some Pepto-Bismol, and some air freshener. So, it's going down in here. Dr. Clay, how you doing today?
What's going on, Pandora? What's up? What's good?
What you tell me what's good.
What you mean what's good? I don't know what's good.
Man. Okay, so emotionally constipated man. I've been anticipating this interview like so bad, right? I really want to know like what's going on. I didn't ask like most people that I interview. I asked them like send me a copy of the book so I can read through whatever. Right. I was like, nah, I just want to wait and see what he's gonna tell me. You know, like. And being a writer myself, I was looking at the title. I was trying to figure it out. Like
you're trying to figure it out.
Like figure it out.
Trying to figure it out.
Okay. But all right. So tell the listeners a little about yourself.
Of course, my name is Dr. William Flip Clay. I've been a licensed professional school counselor for about 16, 17 years, working in the private sector, working with young people, and then eventually started working with young adults, and then eventually started working with adults. About 13 or 14 years.
Okay.
A lot of my experience is directly related to the school system per se, but those same individuals are now grown individuals, professional, who are actually out here working and being productive. So a lot of my experiences in the school system, however, a lot of my other experience in the private sector.
Okay.
I worked for Ebenezer AME Church for 5 years, working with their young adults and the young children in that church. Private sector, I've had my own consulting practice for 11 years, which allows me to travel around the country, do presentations, do individual group sessions, do individual sessions, primarily with males. I've worked directly with some of the gang members in Washington, D.C.
We have gang members here?
Well, you know what I mean. Street people.
I mean, I guess.
Those individuals that
but
society.
But you're not the first one to say we have gangs in D.C.
Well, you can call the cliques. You can
okay.
And so that was a very, I just remember my first time doing that was quite interesting, working with those young men on a Friday night. And it was about 16 of them, we were sitting in a circle, and I call it the healing circle.
Okay.
And I laid a piece of paper out in the middle of the floor, and I asked them, what did that piece of paper represent to them? And they didn't know where I was going with it.
Right.
And there was nothing on the paper. And they couldn't figure it out. And then I asked them, how many people in this room see that paper and you see yourself? Once I told them it didn't represent anything. And how did you, this is how you really feel about yourself. And it was you just had to be there for the moment to see
right.
it. And I think two of them started crying. And these guys are packing, they packing that. They packing
right.
heat. I know they have heat on because they straight up.
Right.
But something hit home for two of them.
Okay.
Because I guess they realize it's more than life than my life isn't anything or nothing.
Right.
I've been featured on the Steve Harvey Morning Show, WHUR, I've been in the Washington Post, been to Fox 5 News a couple times.
So I got a celebrity in my table, y'all. I got a celebrity in my box.
You tripping. Back in 2010, I met the first Hispanic Supreme Court Justice of the United States, Sonia Sotomayor. She came to my school, stayed about 2 hours. So she recognized me as an extraordinary role model and individual, and I still stay in contact with her.
Okay.
Once a year, send a flower, how you doing? You know, it's not too many times a brother can meet a sitting Supreme Court justice and be recognized.
Right, true that.
But I guess my most valuable, I think, out of all of my accomplishments, I think the best thing my success comes from the fact that when I'm changing the lives of the children.
Okay.
That's why I really, I'm energized. Because I do a lot with molestation, incest, rape. And it's a lot of it can be a lot emotionally. But when I see the outcome, that's when you realize this is what I've been called to do. So so when I was writing this book, I wanted to share this book, share the strategies that I've used with younger children, youth, and those same youths now are adults, and they reach back to say thank you. So my thing is, if it can work with them, it can work with adults.
Right.
That's why we're emotionally constipated. Males are emotionally constipated because from childhood, from the cradle to the grave, you will experience trauma, regardless if you're a male or female.
Right.
Research shows that.
Mm-hmm.
According to the National Institute of Health, 7% of Americans have experienced some type of trauma in their life.
Correct.
So the issue is, how do we deal with it and how do we manage it? Or how do we relate to it? How can we fix it? Are we willing to recognize it? Or we're going to allow it to stay inside of us and continue to hurt us? So that's a little bit about myself. They can go on my website, Boy Dr. Hook, and see the rest. But, today I want to start the healing process for someone watching this show and listening.
Okay.
Because there's some people listening today who ready to be healed. You constipated, physically and mentally.
Right.
So we're gonna get it rolling today.
Okay, so during your time of putting everything together, what made you come up with the term constipated?
I wanted, because males don't like the term counseling.
Okay.
Males are not open to counseling.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to come up with a term that would be engaging, entertaining, understanding, and have some meaning to it. And it's going to grab your attention.
Correct.
That's why I came up with that term.
Okay. And how long have you been working on this project?
I would say a year, but it took me 30 days to write 8 chapters.
30 days to write 8 chapters?
I stopped. Just got distracted.
Okay.
Because it was matter of fact, it was last summer. I went to an event sponsored by an organization called Circle of Champions. And the lady sitting beside me, they wanted us to share, what do you do, da, 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 da. So I shared with her, and she was like, wow, that's deep. I was breaking down chapter 1 to her.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, so we had to share with the audience. So I shared with the audience. She said, you need to write a book. I said, I've been thinking about it. So I said, okay. So I just went home and I started writing. So I finished 8 chapters in about 30 days, and I just took a break and started. You see, I can't sit still.
Right.
So I was distracted and other things started happening. So then I realized I need to finish it up. Because in my first book, I started this concept, I introduced the concept. And I would say my first book was like 87 octane.
Okay.
But this book right here is 93, super unleaded. And it's going to a whole nother level.
Super unleaded, y'all. It's the gas.
It's super unleaded gas.
It's the gas.
So I just want the listeners to understand, my first book was the introduction, but this is the super unleaded version, where I go more in depth into emotional, psychological incarceration and the impact and the effects.
Okay. Now tell them where they can find your first book if they want to get the first book.
The first book is on Amazon under post-traumatic school disorder, and pretty much when I was putting that book together, it was pretty much a book that I was writing for individuals working with youth or young adults or grown men or children in general, because it's more strategic as far as counseling lessons utilizing music.
Okay.
So I truly believe that we need to use auditory music as a counseling tool to facilitate a group or individual session. Okay. I use music all the time. So in that book, they will find a lot of strategies that they can use in the school district, in the private sector, in the public sector. I introduced my life story a little bit, but again, it's on the 87. It's regular, but it's
regular.
Good. Then it's
regular.
good. But if you go look at them reviews on Amazon, the content is strong. It's real good.
Okay. Yeah, but they took music out of a lot of schools. A lot of schools don't have music programs anymore, and
Well, we're talking about auditory, the one they listen to.
Yeah.
Right.
So I was about to say, a lot of kids everything's electronical now, so everybody get their Kindles and all that stuff going. So yeah.
So my thing is, why not? If they listening to music every day, and they're on their cell phone, they're on YouTube. Mm-hmm. So why not take that time to introduce them to a concept or idea outside of their norm?
Right.
So if you're gonna listen to YouTube, you're gonna listen to a song. Okay, let me introduce you to who can I just let's go into Tupac, somebody they can relate to. Let's break down some of Tupac lyrics to some of his songs.
Yeah.
So if you're gonna listen to music on YouTube, okay, let's go back to the Sugar Hill Gang.
Right.
Don't push me because I'm close to the edge. Whatever I can't remember.
And see, a lot of kids back then, I think life was a little better. We wasn't really worried about what they were talking about. We just knew the song and this and that.
Right.
But now as we grown, now we know why you didn't want to get pushed too close to the edge.
Right. So why can't we use that same song as a teaching tool? Mm-hmm. Mary J. Blige and Runaway Love by Ludacris. Yeah. That's my I use that song when I'm dealing with molestation and incest and rape victims. Right. That video is my money in the bank. Mm-hmm. It facilitates the communication. It takes a lot of pressure off a clinician or of an individual working with young people. It allows the video and the song to facilitate the communication. And I'll tell you a story about how that went down later on.
Okay. All right, so y'all here, I have a rough draft of his book, which he did a warm launch for already. You want to tell us a little bit about your warm launch? How it went? And
the warm launch was November the 7th. No, good God, what I said November? No, that was last month. I don't know. Anyway, it was the 7th.
Okay.
It was quite interesting. We spent 20 minutes talking about the back cover. Okay. I spoke to several. Don't show them. You don't want to show them. No, don't show them.
Oh, y'all can't see it.
No, they don't need to see the back cover. Now wait till the book come. I want to keep them.
You want to keep them? Okay, peeking.
No, but we spent 20 minutes talking about the back cover. Okay. I spoke to one individual last week who attended, and he said he was mad at me. Hmm? Because it caused him to self-reflect and look at his situation.
So he got mad?
Well, it wasn't mad in a negative manner.
Right.
It caused him to really self-reflect on his life and some things that he's been through that he really didn't want to face. Okay. I got some excellent feedback in reference to what they really loved about the book, the case studies. Got some feedback about the case studies, are very intriguing. What else happened? I think the people were inspired, motivated to really go deeper into themselves and look at their constipation. And that's my whole goal and objective, in the presentation with the book. The book serves as Pepto-Bismol. And my goal is when you read the book and you utilize the questions at the end of each chapter, it will help you to self-reflect and go deeper. So I said the book signing, it was on a scale of 1 through 10, I give it about a 7 or 8. Okay. We had one grown man decided he wanted to sit on the toilet because he wanted to release his constipation. Okay. So the toilet is another conversation. But
I'm glad he did not bring the toilet. Okay. So, let's see. So I opened the book. A little bit about the title of chapter 1. Emotional psychological incarceration.
Yeah, emotional psychological incarceration, that's basically chapter 1. And basically that's the foundation for the book. I came up with a way to I'm not gonna say diagnose, but a way for us to recognize what's going on with a lot of males, mm-hmm. especially, and I call it emotional psychological incarceration. Now, with emotional psychological incarceration, it's not a medical term. So what I mean by that, if you go to the doctor and you tell him what's wrong with you, and you tell him emotional psychological incarceration, he will say, what is wrong with you? Right. So it's not a term that you're going to find in the Europeans' medical Dictionary.
Okay.
This is an urban diagnosis. Like FUBU, for us and by us. But it's really for everybody. Well, and there's 3 stages. Emotional constipation, which occurs from birth to 14, from birth to the age of 14.
Oh, okay.
So when a child is born and they are exposed to trauma, they become emotionally constipated. Now, from the age of 14 into adulthood, if you don't address the emotional constipation, your emotion will go into incarceration. So now we have emotional incarceration from 14 into adulthood. So what you will find with a lot of our males in general, and just regular people, again, 60% of how we've been exposed to some type of trauma. So with males, because we're not emotional beings, first thing we do, we become constipated. If we don't address the constipation, we go into an incarceration stage. That occurs from the age of 14 into adulthood. If you look at the school system per se, the highest failure rate is the 9th grade. Why? Because I'm constipated, I'm low academically, father not in my life, and I don't give up no more.
Right.
Because nobody understands what's going on with me because I'm emotionally constipated. So now I'm in the 9th grade. I don't care. Now my emotions go into an incarceration. So then if you look in chapter 1, I go a little more in depth into the signs or the criteria of what symptoms you should look for. And most of the time, our young males are misdiagnosed. Even Dr. Jerome Kagan, the 22nd most prominent psychologist in the world, even said that most of the kids who are diagnosed with ADHD,
ADHD, BED, LD,
ACEC, or whatever you might want to call it. He's saying they are misdiagnosed, and this is a European, a prominent world psychologist. This is not Dr. Clay.
Okay.
So Dr. Clay is not saying that. This is the 22nd most prominent world psychologist in the world saying they are misdiagnosed. So if we know they're misdiagnosed, what's wrong with them? He said we need to look at the home environment or how they grew up. So they're suffering from emotional, psychological incarceration. And if they're from the age of birth to 14, they're constipated. And if they're not incarcerated, they're incarcerated. So what happens if we don't address the incarceration? Let's look at the prison statistics.
Right.
2.3 million people in prison, 1.6 or 7 million are males, black males. Why? Because something happened they're constipated, and something happened to them as a child that they never they couldn't deal with. But now when you're in that prison cell and you got to look at that wall every day, guess what? You're going back to your childhood. Okay. And you're going to find Allah, God, Jesus,
everybody
Buddha,
you can find.
Everybody you're going to find, because now you have to face your constipation. So my golden objective is I don't want males, especially our brothers, to have to go into the incarceration stage. I want you to be willing to say, you know what? You're right, I'm constipated. So what can we do? Okay. That's chapter 1. So and then in chapter 1
So with chapter 1, y'all, I gotta bring this in because it just touched me when he said that. So you said from up to the age of 14.
Right.
Okay. So it's the thing going on, trending news about R. Kelly. And he said that he was molested by a family member until he was 14.
Right. So he's going through what we call emotional incarceration. And he acts out and he's hurting the people that hurt him. Okay. And so right now he's emotionally incarcerated, but because he has fame and fortune,
it's a whole different
level. He gets a pass. No, it stays because it impacts and affects him the same way it affects a regular person. But because he has fame and fortune, he's able to get away with, per se, his constipation, his incarceration. Okay. So most of the time, what you will find, what I found, that when I'm working with youth, young adults or adults, it's that childhood experience that's causing so much conflict and pain. So I mean, I found I did a session in Florida about 2 years ago. It was 150 men in the room. After I finished breaking it down, you couldn't hear a pin drop in the room because it caused them to look at themselves And it's a hard thing to do for a proud brother, educated,
right,
to look in the mirror at himself and say, I'm constipated. 2 men came up to me and said, thank you.
Yeah, I was about to ask, have you had one of them episodes yet where you were like doing it and maybe somebody like, man, you don't know what you're talking about, that, you know, just refused to accept that something is really wrong with them?
Not yet.
You haven't experienced that yet.
But how can you can't deny, how can you deny? You sit on the toilet every day to get that stuff out you, and it feel good when it come out. Then if you've been exposed to trauma and it's inside of you and you don't get it out, what you think will happen to you?
Right, as my brother would say, my brother, he has a movement called Wounded Alive.
Okay.
And wounded alive means that everybody's been through something.
Yes.
But you came out of it, so you're wounded, but you're alive.
You're alive. I like the idea and the concept.
Yeah, so he's actually writing a book. I'll
Okay.
make sure you get it.
Okay.
Get everything.
I like that idea, the wounded alive. Right.
Yeah, so.
We're wounded, constipated, but we still living.
Wounded, constipated, alive. See?
I mean, if you think about really the history of African Americans in this country, wounded, constipated, and still alive.
Yeah. Hey. All right, so.
Yeah, so that's, you can't,
That's a little bit about chapter 1, y'all. See, I'm not going to give y'all all the chapters, because that'll just be giving y'all the book. So I'm going to move around here.
I mean, you can.
Chapter 4, Man Down, Father Gone. Now, this is one that in...
Universal.
Yeah. Universal.
Well, I think, so, what's your question?
It's just, okay, so...
No, you want to talk about
we know there's a lot of... I can't even say just black fathers, because I have some Caucasian friends who are single parent.
Right.
And, you know, was raised by the mom. So, even though we know with culture, they act a little different than what we act.
Correct.
You know, things they'll do to their single mom that our mom, like, I wish you would.
Correct.
But, how does that plays a big part in a man being constipated?
Of course. That's smart. I mean, in our African American community, I think it's about 60% of 63.
But isn't that the start of it? The dad not being there in the beginning?
Is that the start of the
constipation? The dad not being there in the beginning.
Oh, for a male?
Right.
I would say so based on my experience, but based on my personal and professional experience. So when you're reading this book from a male's perspective, you're going to hear my journey of everything I've been through. When you're looking at the case studies, I'm going to do a contrast and compare. So I'm going to be sharing with you various case studies of cases I've worked through and worked on, and how it impacted me as a man, and how it made me self-reflect and look at myself personally and professionally. So when we're talking about father, man down, father gone, I'm sharing my personal experience, and then I'm sharing my professional experience of cases I work with and how the lack of the father impacted those individuals and how it caused me to self-reflect. When I was looking at my father not being there for me growing up, like every Thursday I would talk to him on the phone, and he said he gonna be there Friday, but he never picked me up.
Show up. Yeah.
And then so
that's male and female right there.
So man down, father going. A lot of men are suffering. It's a lot of grown men who are still suffering from. They've never addressed the lack of the father not being in their life. A lot of them go to their grave with that incarceration. So in that chapter, at the end of the chapter, there's questions. You know, after you read the chapter and you start looking at my life and my case studies, then we start getting into the questions. Because I don't want you to read the chapter and then that's the end of it. No, we need to go a little more in depth, especially with that particular topic, because that's a topic that impacts 50% of Americans in general, but 63% of African Americans. You know, but let me say this: there's 1 million single fathers out there holding it down.
Yes, it is.
Who are raising kids.
Yes, it is.
So we don't, and the research shows that African American fathers spend more time than any other race with their children than any other races in the world. But we don't talk about that on social media. We don't talk about that. They always beating down brothers, but they're not talking about the 1 million men who are raising kids by themselves or the African American male who are spending more time than any other race with their children.
With their children, right.
So we don't talk, that's the conversation we're not having. But we're gonna start having this conversation because as long as, every time I go on air, I'm gonna share it. And when this book launch, I already know what's gonna happen. So everybody gonna know the brothers are spending time with their father, spending time with their children.
Right.
And it doesn't make them better than anybody, another man. Yeah. It just shows that they decided to take fatherhood a lot more serious.
Right. Like I always say, it ain't always about having money to spend time with your child. For the ones that's not in the home, right. You know, be like, oh, I can't come here this week, I ain't got no money. It's the QT, it's the quality time that builds that presence. Child.
Right.
You go out and buy these $100 shoes, only thing they remember is, I remember that day we went and did whatever. Oh, you remember that's the day I bought you the shoes? No, but I remember we did this. It ain't about what you buying them.
It's time.
It's time or what you're doing with them that makes that big memory.
Right.
You know, so.
And I always, you know, I share with brothers. And most of the time, you know, I remember I had a book signing, you know, I won't, this particular church. And, well, it was a presentation and a book signing. And the father brought his son. Mm-hmm. But the father didn't realize he was going to get hit too. So after the session out, he came out crying. Because he never dealt, he didn't want to look at his father not being in his life. Right. But it made him self-reflect. It was the wife, the father, and the son, and the father just came out shaking his head, and he was just like, wow. He said it was deep. Even though he's been there for his son,
right? He
still never dealt with that incarceration of his father.
Of what happened to him, right?
But in his life. So, it's, you know, he brought his son, you know, to support me, and then like, whoa. So, you know, I dapped him up. You know, said, man, brother, it's gonna be all right. Just let it go. You got to talk about it. I said, man, I appreciate it. So, you know, we still have grown men who are still dealing with my father not being in my life, and they're incarcerated. So they need to let that go.
Okay. All right, y'all. We're gonna take a little break, and we're gonna come back with some more. Really find out what's going on with these men. All right. Okay, all right. I like to write this what I like. I must have been this way all my life. My mama know I'm right. I used to close the door. You know I'm recording, so don't come in when you see that light. Right, I pray so many times. If I could just get my foot in
attention. Fresh paper, number 2 pencil, busy writing rhymes, staring out the window. I can see myself in billboard pictures. Little kid, but with a lot of vision. Single home, 1 television. I would wash the dishes to my little sisters. I'ma make it one day in the music business. Grew up listening to Salt and Pepper, Roxanne Shante, and a couple others. Whatever happened to women and substance? Nowadays, only a couple others. So I fill my cup up with plenty of it. Double up, they say it's all or nothing. I was born with nothing, did a lot of struggling. So before I go, I'ma accomplish something. I promise I'ma find a way to take care of my family. I asked my mama who she wanted me. She told me Oprah Winfrey, Tyler Perry would be sweet. Fly my whole hood out to the awards. My niece and nephews ask for anything, the world is yours. I share my blessings with the best of them. My time is now, no looking back, pray for the rest of them. I see what you're doing, I see what you're doing. You're just hanging there, dreams do come true. Like somebody's gonna discover you. Just say, baby, don't stop what you're doing, stop what you're doing. Everybody's gonna know but your life will never be the same. Just say, baby, I see what you're doing, I see what you're doing. Just be careful what you ask for. Do the good and bad, be thankful. Just say, baby, don't stop what you're doing, stop what you're doing. You're just hanging there, dreams do come true. But somebody's gonna discover.
What's up? You're tuned back in to the Pandora Word Box Show. I'm your host, Pandora Love, and today I have Dr. William in the house, and we are talking about the emotionally constipated man. Book due to release. Do we have release date yet?
What's this? Oh, I would say second week in August. Between the second and third week. Yeah, definitely second and third week of August. National press release going out. So yeah, second or third. If they follow me on social media, trust me, they'll know. Right. But we're definitely looking at the second or third week, based on.
All right, so the book will be coming out sometime next month. Like I say, following my page, like the Win DC page, and of course the Pandora Word Box Show page, and the link and everything will be up there when it's posted. So we talk about man down and the father gone. Let's talk about as they get older. We want to talk about love, lies, and emotion. Where did that come in at? You know, with the constipation, is that like with their problems and relationships and stuff like that? Where does all that come together? Just going by the title.
Love, lies is exactly what I mean. That chapter is basically my personal journey.
Okay.
What I went through, some stages in my life where I was using my gift for the wrong reason.
Okay.
Fell in love. Individual lied to me. I went through an emotional roller coaster. I started doing some things that my family wasn't proud of, but they really couldn't say anything.
Okay.
There's a case study in there, but yeah, I think every man goes through a stage in their life where something happened in their childhood triggers a negative emotion or a negative response. Okay. So because of what happened in my childhood growing up and what my father exposed me to and how he treated my mother, it inadvertently impacted it and affected me to the point where I was doing some wild things.
Okay.
If people familiar with Baby Luke, you know Luke Skywalker, the rapper. Anyway, for them
yes, I know Luke.
you know,
2 Live Crew.
2 Live Crew.
Yes.
Let's just say I was a baby version of Baby Luke.
What?
And I had
oh Lord have mercy.
I had my crew working for me, and I
okay.
was making money.
Lord have mercy.
And I was making good money. And, I mean, I'm a little guy, but I had my crew working for me, and they did what I asked them to do, but they were getting paid.
Right.
And I went through a stage in my life where, that was triggered from my childhood.
Okay.
Because I remember growing up, my father would have these, I think they call them, let's say, Playboy magazine. I can't remember. And he would sit down and we would look at these magazines, but I didn't really understand the impact it would have on me later on in life.
Right.
So he exposed us to I was exposed to it, and then eventually later on in life I realized I could pay men to take their clothes off for women, and I'm gonna make the money. All I gotta do is pay them. So in that chapter I talk about my journey going through that stage. I talk about
Deuce Bigelow, male gigolo.
you can call it what you want. I mean, I was a male gigolo per se, and I did it for 2.5 years. I had 12 guys and 2 girls. I worked with the girls for 1 year, but my conscience was killing me because one of the mothers was a single mother.
Oh, okay.
And I couldn't do it. I couldn't do the girls. I couldn't do it no more. I mean, we would go to places and I'm sitting down having a conversation with them and they butt naked. Like they just finished doing the set.
Right.
And they come in, we talk and say, you good? You make sure you all right? And I'm like, and then I was like, what's going on? I mean, but it went back to my father. And when he used to sit back with these magazines and talk about it, show it to me. And I didn't realize the impact and effect it was having on me until later on in life. And then I met a young lady who gave me the ultimatum. So either you stop throwing these shows or we can't be together. If you want to be me, you can't throw these shows. You gotta read the book to figure out what happened. So love, lies, and emotions. And I talk about another young lady I met that lied to me. I'll let you gotta read the book.
Oh, Lord.
So that's, yeah. And a lot of people surprised when they realize.
This book dropped, they gonna wish they ain't lied.
No, but a lot of people see what I do now as far as speaking.
Right.
But I was using that gift back then.
The gift of gab.
The gift of gab. Let me look at me. Look how small I am. I got 12 guys working for me. That's 3 or 4 times my size, and they doing everything I asked them to do and tell them to do. Oh, it's a lot more story that I ain't talking. I ain't tell everything in the book now.
Oh, okay.
Not if I do another version, then I will have to disclose. But it's some. I could share some stories from them 3 years. But that's love, lies, and emotions. So pretty much, I just want men to really look at yourself in reference to relationships, how your constipation is impacting your relationship. Are you willing to make that choice? Because see, and one thing I would say, when you meet the right woman, you'll be willing to sacrifice anything and everything to please her, because you know pleasing her is going to please yourself and it's going to free you.
Okay, so I'm going to tell y'all, these are the chapters, okay? Emotionally, psychologically incarcerated. You have to reveal to heal. That's chapter 2. Chapter 3, the day I divorced religion. Chapter 4 is man down, father gone. Chapter 5, emotional detoxification. And 6 is love, lies, and emotions. Chapter 7 talks about the inner me is the enemy. Chapter 8,
intergenerational emotional psych incarceration.
Okay. You want to explain that one a little bit?
Epigenetics, for my college educated folks. Epigenetics, basically, pretty much, your history or your environment dictates, it controls your future, but we're looking at it from the standpoint of heredity or genes. So, for example, give you an analogy of, I advise all mothers who are pregnant to read to their children while they're in their belly. Why? Because it's going to enhance their reading skills when they come out of your womb. Intergenerational, that chapter basically saying anything that you were exposed to, and you're going to transfer that to your child. And I use an analogy in the when I do a presentation of book sign, I give them a visual cue. So let's look at the atrocities of slavery on the African American.
Right.
Okay. that's pretty much what that chapter conceptualizes. It talks about the trauma of when the baby was in the womb of the mother and how that genetically was going to impact that child growing up. So that's what that chapter is basically about. And I give you some case studies to show, to validate what I'm talking about is true. Because, you know, documentation beats conversation. Anybody can talk. But show me some documentation to say, so let's look at this case study. So, and then I looked at it from my personal perspective.
Traffic light healing, that's chapter 10, and the laxative.
Right. So I mean, you know. So I mean, that's chapter.
Help you.
The traffic light healing. I reached out to an associate of mine, Donovan. He's out of Denver, Colorado. Donovan Dreyer, and he shared with me his SOS, solving our stress. And I really love the idea and the concept about it. And he correlated that to using a traffic light to how we address trauma. So, of course, when the light is green, you're free. Mm-hmm. When it's yellow, you're in that caution stage. So if you're incarcerated, you're kind of like emotionally incarcerated. You're at that caution stage. But then when you go to prison, you're the red light. You're the stopping point. There. So the green represents, okay, I've been exposed to trauma. How am I going to deal with it? I'm ready to be free from it. The yellow represents the constipation, incarceration stage. The red represents the physical incarceration. So I use the analogy, he used the analogy of a traffic light. And again, it's something that we go through every day. We're going to ride through a traffic light.
Right.
So when you ride through that traffic light, you're looking at that light. I want you to self-reflect and look at yourself and say, where am I as far as my constipation is concerned?
So I know it says the constipated man, but you know, think about the topics and you know, sitting here talking with you.
Right.
I can see that some women go through the same things.
Yeah, of course. So when you look at my case studies,
right,
a lot of the case studies will be focused on females.
Okay.
So right. So when you start reading, I would say out of the 8 case studies, 6 of them are probably going to be about females. So again, it's a tool to start a conversation with males, but indirectly we can focus. It could be used as a tool for females. And I share a story. I was in Baltimore and I did introduced this book about 6 months ago, 3 or 4 months ago. A young couple came up to me after the presentation. You know, young couple, they walk up, thank you, and the wife, she just is smiling. I'm like, okay. She said, thank you. She said, the whole time you were speaking, I was hitting my husband on the knee. He needed to hear that. He said, what you talking about? I need to hear you constipated too. And she said that. So what I'm saying this to say, yes, it's a universal tool, but I want the primary focus to be on starting the conversation with males because we don't talk.
Right.
Females will express their emotions. Mm-hmm. Males don't. We want to keep ours we want to keep it inside of us.
Right.
So I wanted this book to be used as a tool to start the conversation. That's why I put the questions at the end of the chapter.
Right.
Because you read the chapter and then let's talk about it. And then after we talk about it, okay, what's the next step? Because once you see, the easiest thing is to get out of the stage of denial. Once you get out of denial, and you can accept the fact that I'm constipated, what's my next step? Am I going to seek some help? Am I going to seek some assistance? Because 50% of the battle is saying I'm constipated.
Right.
Now, let's move on. So, I hope I answered that question.
Right. So your book, you remember back in the days where, you know, the strong fathers had the families, mm-hmm. and things that went on in the home could not be expressed. Like you say, if something was wrong with y'all, no man wanted nobody to know that their child needed to go to counseling or mental health things.
Right.
And that you think that contributes to a lot of black constipation? I feel like I'm talking.
No. I mean, it's okay. So you're saying because we don't want to share?
Yeah, when you know how the man.
Oh right,
the man is the head, and he don't want nobody to know.
Okay, based on
things that's going on in the home.
Personal professional experience, yes. personally, and I would say from growing up, because if looking at my situation with my family, if you saw us on the outside, everything looked good.
Right.
But on the inside, it was out of control. There was emotional and physical abuse. And you were told not to talk about it.
Right. Because back then, what they say, what goes on in my house stays in my house.
And even today,
still.
But kids are more socially conscious now.
Right.
So they're more open to share what's going on in their house if they're comfortable with the professional that they're working with, and they trust the professional.
Right.
Now, if they don't trust you, I'm not going to tell you anything. And a lot of my cases, and right now I'm working in a large percentage of my students are from Latin America, and they're very family oriented. They don't talk about issues relating to their family a lot. But I'm not having a problem breaking them down because, you know, when you help kids, they don't care what color you are.
Right.
They just want to be helped. So what I find in the African American community, you know, just certain topics you don't talk about. One is religion and one is mental health. Those two things you don't talk about in our community. You don't talk about religion and you don't talk about mental health. So as long as we don't talk about it, guess what? We're going to keep having the same problem. Men going to keep being constipated. We're going to keep being constipated.
Okay. Women, some of us are constipated too, so yeah. Y'all need to get the book when it come out too. So who should read this book? Who do you think this book?
Everybody. No.
Everybody.
No, I would say I would say from the ages of 12 and up. Primary focus on, again, the book is focused on males, but I think, again, like you're saying, females can definitely gain some valuable insight from the book. Even from the case studies alone, the case study, like let's turn to page 11. The case studies alone, it's going to blow your mind. They're going to blow your mind. I wouldn't even go into the case. Yeah. So if you go to page 11 and page 11, go to the second paragraph.
Look, he know his book, y'all.
No, but if you go to page 11, look at the second paragraph, and I won't go deep into this story, but this is a particular individual who wrote this letter to her person who raped her. And I'm gonna read the letter. I have a big question that I ask. I have a big question. This is a 13-year-old child. Mm-hmm. This is a true story now. I have a big question that I ask myself to this day. Why did you make my life miserable? I never did anything to you. You still did what you needed to do. How does it feel to open a book? I bet it felt great for you. You opened me up as if I were a book, looking at me and scanning your eyes over words through each page. Each page flipped. The more I felt worse, but the worst part was when I had to pretend to like it, because I knew that you would hurt me as if you were tearing a book apart. I'm a worn-out book that has gone through things, but I know for a fact you can't tear me apart. I'm a girl you'll never bring down. And this was written by a 13-year-old individual who was molested and raped that I was working directly with. And when I started working with her, she didn't talk. She would walk into my office and ball up in a knot. And I've experienced that on more than one occasion.
Right.
And when she wrote that letter, just let me know that progress is made, because she wrote this letter to him. And that says a lot when anyone who has experienced, who's been through the process, if you go through that, if you've been molested, if you suffer one of those, if somebody did that to you, I don't like talking about it, because it's very, when I have to deal with it, it's very traumatizing. And a lot of people don't realize the impact if you're constantly hearing these stories and you got to constantly take this in.
Yeah.
How much of an impact.
That's one thing I was going to ask you. As a man, and you dealing with this, and you had these kids coming to you, like, yeah, my father did this, or this person did this, and just say you working at, maybe a clinic or whatever, and maybe that mother's coming up there or that father's coming up there, and you like, really, how do you hold them emotions and be a professional?
Well, it's emotion. I don't have no problem controlling the emotions externally. It's the internal battle that you have to deal with, not because you see the dysfunction, and you have to be able to manage it. But see, when you've been called to do something, the tool's gonna be provided for you to help you make it through whatever the process you're going through. When I'm dealing with those particular cases, it's not easy. Right. I tell you, it's not easy. I just think, this is a gift, and I use it to the best of my ability, and God has always provided me with a way to be able to manage my emotions, but at the same time keeping my mind focused and straight, because it's hard. Some of the stuff but when you see a letter, when you read a letter,
right,
that's the motivation. Or when they come back and say thank you. Now they're adults,
right,
and they find you on social media, and they say thank you for changing my life. Because see, we plant seeds as mental health professionals, and sometimes we don't see the seeds bloom or blossom or grow into fruition. But when they come back and they say thank you, that's when you're like, you know what? Keep pushing. That's why, another reason why I wanted to write this book, because the case studies alone, will blow people's minds. Case studies alone will blow your mind.
All right, y'all, we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back with more of The Constipated Man.
Now listen to the smooth sounds of Frankenstein's music.
On the side of the plate to show my gratitude, baby.
What's up, y'all? You're tuned in to the Pandora Word Box Show, and I'm back. Whew, man. All right, so we've been talking about the emotionally constipated man, which I'm gonna say is for men and women, but mainly about the men. Let's talk about constipated conversations.
You want to talk about them constipated conversations?
Yeah, I'd be like, why do you call them constipated conversations?
Because number one, men don't feel comfortable, don't like the word counseling.
Right.
I want to use it. I want to give it another connotation. So I want to call it. I want us to have a constipated conversation. Because if you said the word, and I use the analogy of the word, if you use like mentoring versus empowerment. A lot of single mothers would tell you, my son had a mentor, but he left. Why did the mentor leave? Because mentoring requires commitment. Mm-hmm. And most males are commitment phobic. But if you use the word empowerment, it caters to a male's ego. Oh, okay. So I'm willing more to, I want to empower him because I don't want him to make the same mistakes I made. And there's not, the commitment connotation is not attached to it. But I'm saying this to say constipated conversation is just like counseling. Okay. But we're just going to say, okay, man, let's talk. Because, I'm constipated just like you. Right. So, and that's another reason why I decided to write my book, because I'm sharing my constipation with the world. So if I share my constipation, why can't we have a conversation? Right. So my goal is to get the, okay, I'm constipated versus I need counseling. Okay. It's more engaging, more fun, but it's still being serious at the same time. So that's why I wouldn't call it constipated conversation. Some people might not feel comfortable with it, and everybody might not agree with the concept or the idea, but it flows. It flows. So I feel comfortable with constipated conversation. And I would love some feedback on it. People tell me what they think.
Yeah. The lines are open. If y'all want to call in, 240-389-3397. Feel free to call in. Yeah, my lines are out. If you want to call in, you can call in. Also, let's talk the Black Educators Rock Conference.
Yeah, that took place in Jacksonville, Florida, and I presented a workshop on mass incarceration, but I tapped a little bit into the emotional, psychological incarceration. There was a young lady in the audience, and I wouldn't say young, educator. She came up to me after the presentation. She was like, "Wow, excellent presentation." So she was talking. So I was just sharing with her about my book and the press release that was coming out. She said, "I want to put you in contact with my husband. That what you would talk about was so amazing, and because he works in the prison and ministry, and this would he would love it." So we just kept talking. I was telling her she was asking me about the book, my first book, so I did the analogy of the 87 octane, 93 octane. So I showed her my second book. She was just like, "Whoa!" She said, "When is this out? When is it coming out?" I said, "Well, my press release is coming out in a couple weeks, a week or two." She said, "No, don't send your press release out." And I was like, "Why?" She said, "Send it to me." And I'm looking at her like, "Okay, why am I gonna send you my press release?" Long story short, this particular individual worked in media for 20 years. Okay. So she had a lot of media contacts. Mm-hmm. So per finish up in our conversation, she pretty much said, like, when I finish with your press release, and I'm going to release it to individuals who have direct contact with the right people. She said, your life going to change in 48 hours. So I just want you, she said, a couple things I need you to do. I need you to go back home and get ready. Put your team together and send me your press release. So I'm like, okay. So at first I thought she was serious. But I had already started putting things in place as far as, right, the people being in place and making sure everything that I present it's professional, it's tight, and, you know, the marketing, the branding. So once I receive the book back from the editor, we're going to launch the national press release, and she really fine-tuned that press release. So I'm just doing everything she's requiring me to do. So when we launch, we'll launch.
Okay, so what can the readers expect? What can they expect?
To feel uncomfortable. Because you're going to get hit in the face. Because, see, one thing I found, and it's not uncomfortable in a negative manner, uncomfortable to the point where it's going to motivate you to change. Because, see, when you're comfortable, comfortability allows you to be, when you're comfort, you don't want to step out of your comfort zone.
Right.
So reading this book is going to cause people to be uncomfortable, because now you're going to have to face your constipation, your incarceration. There's no way around it. We can't act like it's not there, because we know it's there. With 70% of us, and if you black, you've been through some type of trauma. Right. Okay, so the issue: am I going to let that trauma fester, or am I going to bring that trauma to the table and start talking about it? So I think when the readers, and I think it's going to be, I think the book will be a good conversation. I would like to see a point where we get back to having conversations at dinner time with families.
And I don't even think people sit at the table no more like a family.
You know what I'm saying? Why can't we? What's that?
We can't sit at the table
at least once a week.
Right.
And have, cause really, especially in our community, with all the dysfunction we have going on, we really need to sit down and talk about something.
Yeah, see, we was raised up in an era where Sunday dinner was at the table. You ate dinner every night at the table.
Yeah.
It was something special, you know.
Right. That's how we roll.
Yeah.
That's how we got that. That's how I went down.
Okay, so now, as a single mother, just say if a single mother read this book and realized that maybe one of her sons is constipated, I mean, what advice would you give her?
Well, first of all, she has to deal with her own constipation. Number one, you have to be transparent with your child, your children,
right?
And sit down and start having conversations. Again, what we just talked about. It's okay. Don't get to the point. Don't spoil your child. I know as single mothers, it's so hard. We have to see. You make the mistake of, because of the lack of the father not being present, you overcompensate for your son. And
I don't think all of us do that.
No, all. I never say all.
Oh no, I know some may. Some may do.
A majority of them.
Yeah.
You know, because you love your son. And I mean, even when I was growing up, I went through when my mom died when I was 13, so it was a little different. But again, professionally and personally, I see it every day. Right. I see it. So we have to. I would tell. Be transparent with your child about your own constipation. Sit down and have a conversation. Teach your son everything you would teach your daughter. So if you had a boy and a girl, see, we raise our daughter to, you know, get a job, go to college, be successful, clean the house up.
Don't depend on no man and stuff
right.
like that.
So what you need to do, I would tell single parents, teach your son everything that you would teach your daughter. And you will raise a wholesome man who's prepared to grow up and become a real man. So I hope I answered that question.
Yes, you did. You did.
Okay.
You did. Do you have any local events coming up?
Let me see. August. Oh, well, for the public, September the 22nd. I'm presenting a college and career readiness workshop at Oxon Hill High School. That's free to the public. So I'll be talking about college and career readiness. August 11th, Baltimore County at the Radiston Library. I'll be in Baltimore. Matter of fact, I'll be in Baltimore like 6 times between now and the end of the year. Okay. I know August 11th, that's in Baltimore County, but I'll actually be in Baltimore City in October twice. We're just working on just working on the date, finalizing the date, but it's pretty much been confirmed. We just got lock in the date, but the month, and it'll be on my website.
Okay.
And then I'm sure, I know for a fact after I launch the book, it's gonna get crazy.
Yeah.
So right now we're looking at locally. Oh, and this Friday I'm doing something with the DC. What's the name of the agency? I'm going to be speaking to a group of kids in DC who are on probation between the ages of 12 and 18. It's their end of the year summer program. Okay. So I'm doing I think an hour presentation. It's Friday, August the 3rd. Okay. And I don't think that's open to the public though.
Probably not.
So locally, I would say September in Prince George's County. And again, more stuff is going to come in once the book is released. Because right now I'm in the stages of I'm on the phone with a couple of churches, organizations, and we're working out time schedules and things of that degree. But nothing has been finalized. Okay. So they just have to follow me on social media to keep up with everything.
What's going on?
Yeah, because it's gonna be flowing. Right. It's gonna flow like the toilet water gonna flow. Let me stop.
All right. So, what is your goal? What is your overall goal?
To heal the world, to start the conversation, to get us to self-reflection. I want to see men, especially us men, to say it's okay for me to release. It's okay. I don't have to keep going through life with this pain and this hurt. Because we can't continue to allow ourselves to fester in constipation or to let it sit inside of us. So my goal is that this book will start the conversation to healing. Well, as a matter of fact, I know it's going to start the conversation to healing. Right. For the people who are willing to say, I'm ready to be healed. So that's my goal and objective, and just to get people to start talking. If you ride in the metro, man, you know that constipated. That's man, that brother constipated. She constipated.
People gonna be on the train like, I read that. Oh yeah, he constipated. I mean, when you constipated,
man. No, I mean, but it's and again, I mean, I already know what's gonna happen. So my goal, I just want people to start saying, okay, it's okay for me to, especially our males and our men and our young boys. Okay. I see them walking down the street. I can look at him. Oh, he constipated. What you dealing with, bro? And the sad part, they want the help, but they don't know how to ask for it because they don't think people understand. But now there's no reason for you not to understand what's going on, because I use in my presentations. I love using having a toilet present. The toilet, because realistically, when you think about the objective and the goal of a toilet is to receive what comes out of you, right, and to flush it away, so you don't see it again. And when you sit on it, you feel good. Well, you don't sit. You feel good when it come out. Yeah. Am I right?
Right.
Right. And you know when it come out, and then you flush it down the toilet. But sometimes you got to sit there and you got to strain a little bit, because what's inside of you don't want to come out. Right. So when you think about it, and I use that analogy, especially when I'm running my group sessions with the young people, for them to understand it. So that's why I love the toilet, because when you sit down emotionally and you get what's inside of you out, you feel so much better, because you know it's been inside of you for so long. But that's why you got to spray the air freshener. So, because you know, this gonna work. Because you know what's gonna come out you? It's gonna stink.
It's gonna stink.
It's gonna stink physically and mentally. But when you can spray that air freshener, then flush it down the toilet and wash your hands and become a new person. I was in Denver, Colorado with high school kids for 3 hours. And the little Spanish girl walked up to me after it was over. She said, "Thank you." And I said, "Why?" She said, "Thank you." She said, "Now I understand what's wrong with me." This girl's 16, and she's sitting up in the corner, because I showed the video. This stuff kind of strong. I showed the video. I have this video on YouTube of this whole but I've just broken.
Okay.
And I showed the video to them, and they were laughing at first.
Mm-hmm.
But when they get to the serious part of the video, that's when it hit home for her. And she realized that, whoa, that's what's wrong with me. Because, I mean, think about it. When you sit on the toilet, you know, hopefully most people sit on the toilet at least once every 2 days. I hope more than that, but. And if you're not, you constipated for sure.
Really constipated.
Yeah, you're beyond constipated. At least once a day.
Yeah, this is going to be a great read, everyone. All right, so tell everybody where they can follow you and how they can book you for events. Book you to speak.
I'm on Twitter, Dr_Flip, Dr_Flip on Twitter. On Instagram, lowercase Dr_FLIP07. On Facebook, Dr.william Flip Clay. And they can contact me directly, 301-529-0450. 301-529-0450. You can contact me directly, and let's make it happen. Let's free up these men from this constipation.
Stinky tails.
We said with their stinky tails.
Stinky tails. Yes, Lord.
Yeah, so yeah, that's how they can contact me. And I know you got some questions. You got another question? Huh?
All right, so I'm just gonna read.
What are you thinking? Now I'm gonna interview you.
What am I thinking? Well, as a woman, I'm thinking that a lot of us women are constipated as well.
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna switch the roles. I'm gonna interview you.
And it comes from a history of things that goes on in the family.
Right.
You know, like I was saying, back then everything was so shuttered. Like, you
Right.
know, what goes on in my house, stay in my house.
Correct.
And you might have expressed it to a close friend,
Right.
like your best friend or whatever, but y'all all was young. It's really nothing they can help you with because they probably was constipated too.
Right.
So it's the whole constipated gang, you know. And, you know, it's just amazing. And like I say, it's just, I would expect this book from a woman. Because, hey, I'm going to say this, ladies, don't get mad. We think we know everything about the man. We know what's wrong with him. That's his problem, this, and that. But we don't know where the root of everything started with the man.
Right. And see, that's my goal. Cause see, right.
You know.
So it's gonna cause male. It's gonna cause if you read this book and it don't cause you to self-reflect, something wrong with you.
Right. Because
there's case studies, and then there's my personal story, and then my professional story that can cover almost any trauma that you've been exposed to. So it's going to cause self-reflection, and you made a valid point. It's a very interesting read. I mean, and I'm saying it because I wrote the book. I'm just saying because of the content that's in the book, and then the chapter titles and how it was given to me to share with the world, and the importance of the book. I mean, even the case studies alone of molestation, incest, and rape just is mind-boggling. Even to the point where I almost committed suicide during my professional career, something I was going through. And it wasn't because of nothing bad, it was just the pressure. When you talk about that emotional, when you're constantly bringing all this negative energy to you, and you feel like just giving up, and then your name's being. I mean, it's when you read I think chapter 5 is probably the most. Out of the whole book, even relating to the death of my mother when I was 9 years old, I had to take care of her when she was diagnosed with cancer. But I would say chapter 5 is probably the most emotional. When I was writing chapter 5, it wasn't hard, but it was that particular case study changed my life. And matter of fact, when I was in Florida, I was sitting in the audience and the lady was speaking. And but this lady's she's a four. She lost her arm and both of her legs.
So
She's a triple amputee.
Yeah,
Triple amputee.
And you say both arms?
I think. No, one. I
One
don't know.
arm and 2 legs, right? Yeah.
I don't
She
quote
got
me.
3 limbs missing, so yeah. She's
And I could be, don't quote me, but when she was speaking, and she made this comment, she said, "In your life, in your journey, you will meet one person that would change your life for the rest of your life, and you will realize it was God ordained." And when she said that, I thought about chapter 5. Everything I went through with this particular young girl, and how I almost gave up, but I didn't give up. And even to the point of me wanting to kill myself. That's how. And nobody knows that I was having thoughts of suicide. This is the first time this is
putting it out there
in the book. My family members didn't even. The only person knew was my significant other and a close friend and my supervisor. The thought went through my mind. It was just the enemy was beating me down because I had actually saved this person's life. And it was just, when you read chapter 5, I talk about it more in the presentation. I go a little more in depth. But my goal, and with this particular individual, I'm praying. And I told God I want somebody to offer her a free ride to college because of what she went through. And even to the point where she wrote me a letter. And the letter just, even in my lowest point, I would always, talk about resilience. But the letter that she wrote me, it just like, wow. Because, people work in this field, people don't understand what we go through. But when she wrote me that letter and I read that letter, I was like, wow, this is why we do what we do. And the letter's in the book. I could read it, but I don't know. Now, I'll let y'all buy the book, chapter 5. But yeah, that's my goal, that once the book is released, I'm going to talk about her story more in depth, and somebody going to send her to college for free because she's what we call a survivor, and for what she went through, and for her to be where she is today, it's remarkable.
So how old is she now?
She's 14. So this is recent.
Okay. Oh, okay.
So it's not like, right, and she gave me permission to use, of course, she said, Mom, what she went through and what I went through with her, she might be 15 now, I don't know, but anyway, it was life-changing. I mean, I've been through a whole lot of my life, but her story, when you want to find out what you've been called to do in life, I knew it, but that was, when I went through with her, oh no, that was beyond, that was a spiritual encounter that I'll never forget. So I started crying, I admit it, when I was in Jacksonville, I started crying because of when the lady said that she was that one person.
It changed your life.
Oh man, that's, even to today.
Yeah, this book, I can't wait to get into this, and then the original, the right.
Yeah, that's just.
I get to read both.
Yeah, that's a rough, and pretty much, yeah, that's what I mean. The rough draft, and I'm gonna use the rough draft as when I start my, probably the first of the year, I want to launch my Constipated Conversations Empowerment Program, training program.
Okay, so what about us women? You need to do the Constipated woman.
Well, I'm gonna focus on our brothers because our brothers, we need to really start.
Yeah, they don't have enough outreach. I can say that.
They don't. They don't. I think First Baptist Church of Glenarm, they have an excellent males program on Monday night. Where I think about 200 or 300 black men get together, and they really have what we call, I talk about in chapter 11, man cage conversations.
Oh, okay.
Where brothers actually get down and become emotionally raw, Because we need a place where we can go to once a month, especially our young boys. Or they need somewhere they can go to and get that stuff out of. Because I have some, and I talk about that in my book, some of my case studies.
And I'm surprised it's a church because a lot of people find churches to be very judgmental.
Right.
And, you know, tradition, you know, but for a place that you could go, y'all call it a man cave, to express things and talk like that, that's good.
I mean, they have probably, I would say, if not the top program that I've heard around here in reference to male empowerment per se, a safe place where men can go to and feel safe to release. I mean, you can't beat it. We need them in the school district.
Yeah.
Because see, if you catch a male early, you ain't got to worrying about when he get to manhood.
Older. Right.
So we started elementary school. I started my male empowerment program in elementary school. And once a week, my boys had a place they can come to, and we started really focusing on issues that was bothering them. So when they got to middle school and high school, they were comfortable releasing, and they've already dealt with it. Versus sending them to middle school, where now they're incarcerated because they were constipated and they acting out. So that's how. That's why probably first of the year I'm gonna start, and I think I'm gonna do like a pilot program, probably October, November, where I'm gonna have about 12 to 15 brothers. We gonna meet and just give like a little pilot program and see how the schedule. I gotta figure out logistically how I'm working out, but it's something I need to do. I really don't want to do it, but I know there's a need for it.
Yes.
And it's healing for me too, because even though I'm still incarcerated to a degree. I'm functioning. I'm functioning real well, but
Constipated.
A functioning constipated man. I mean, that's real talk though. Right. They walking downtown DC, a functionally constipated man. But you don't want to go to the graves. A functionally. I shouldn't say functionally. Well, that's a good, funny way of saying it.
You don't want to go to your grave constipated.
Right. You want to get everything like right before my father. No, and I would say even though my father died 7 years ago, we were riding in the truck, and I never forget it. And he said to me, I wish I could have done some things differently growing up. That was his way of saying I'm sorry.
Right.
Because he didn't want to go to the grave
with that on him.
That constipation on him. So how many other men out here listening today who gonna hear this?
And they could do something because sometimes it be too late.
Right. But my father realized that he had made some mistakes. But he didn't say he was sorry. But I was willing to accept I made some mistakes growing up and I wish I could have done some things different.
So, question. When you're a man and you realize that you're constipated, once you see the mistake in your constipated son, how do they take the steps there?
What? How would a man and a father take the
Just
steps?
say your father and you see, you see some things from you because of your past.
Intergenerational.
But you see it
right.
in your son.
Right.
And you're like, I did it because of this. Like, am I doing what he did to me? Am I doing it to my child? And that's why he's acting like this.
That's intergenerational incarceration.
Right.
So I talk about that.
So it is a way to break the cycle, as we say.
Well, I mean, right? Because once you understand the cycle, you can break it. So that's what intergenerational emotional incarceration is about. That self-reflection where you're looking at, oh, I'm doing this to my child because this was done to me. Mm-hmm. So how can I break that cycle? Number one, I gotta realize what's going on, and number two, I gotta be transparent with my son, and number three, we gotta seek help or seek assistance so we can heal together.
Right.
So once you understand what's going on, and my goal and my prayer is that when people read the book, it will give them a roadmap to say, oh, this is why I'm doing this, or this is why I'm doing this. Oh yeah, I know somebody going through this. Oh yeah, I know somebody going through this. That's me. And my thing is, I'm an African American male. I'm a professional. I went through a doctoral program. I'm constipated, I'm emotionally incarcerated, but I'm still successful. And I'm able to accomplish some things in life. But this book has allowed me to free myself of constipation that I've never shared with other. A lot of people don't know about my baby Luke story. I mean, people be surprised some of the stuff I was doing. I mean, it's funny, but even today, I see people and they be like, man, you cause you know the DMV is, you know, and I see people I went to school with, and they said, man, you still throwing them parties? Bruh, come on, man, let's go to strip club. Let's go. No, I can't do that. Man, you ain't doing that no more. Because that's what they know me from.
Right.
They don't know. I said, man, I can't do that. I can't be throwing up. Even 2 years ago, up to 2 years ago, Pandora now, I was up in the store, my man came through. He was like, man, what's up? I said, man, nah. I said, man, come on, man, listen, man, you know, man, you was making that money. You know, you could kill it in D.C. I said, no, I can't do it. You know, the enemy was creeping in over, but I was. No, because he knew me from when I was Baby Lou.
Back then, yeah.
Oh, I mean, it was bad. I was a bad boy. I'm trying to tell you, making that money and
was constipated like I don't know what back then.
Getting paid.
You had the cramp then. You had the constipation cramp.
I was getting paid, doing real good. And then I met Boo. That's chapter. That's Love, Live, and Emotion.
Love,
you gotta read that thing. That thing, boy. And a good woman.
Okay.
Check you quick and make you change your game.
And I was about to say, like, when it got to that point, like right now, do you thank her for helping you make that change?
Oh yeah. Matter of fact, she's yeah.
Y'all still good friends?
Yeah,
we friends, you know.
Yeah, she's married and with 2 kids, and but she in another state.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, she on the other side of the country.
Yeah, you think you'll still be Luke if you ain't make that change?
Oh, I already know.
If she ain't give you the ultimatum,
no, I already know. No, real talk. I already know, and I told her that. I told her I appreciate it.
That's what's up.
Cause I mean, I might have been locked. Seriously, I was. When I said out there, I mean it was like this, Pandora. Let's keep on hiding. Cause I'm very transparent. Sometimes we get you in trouble, but I don't care. It was like. I do care, but if I'm writing a book about transparency, then I need to be transparent. I mean, it was to the point where it was wild. I mean, I was just like, people would call me like, I need come do this. I used to do bachelor parties. Oh, bachelor parties off the chain. And then, I would get referrals like, let's say like you called me and you was happy with the services, and I give you, your ticket number was 69. Okay. So if you refer me to somebody, you're gonna get them that ticket number. Okay. So you're gonna get 69 to that person. Then when they call me, they gonna say ticket number 69, refer me. Then I'm gonna call you to confirm.
Right.
And it was just like, I'm like, wow, I was doing some wild stuff. And I had my sister working the booth. I mean, it was crazy. I mean, but it was like, how can this little guy get all these big, strong people to work for him? It was the gift of gab.
Yeah, the gift of gab is a beast.
I called it the Jodeci. It was the show.
It.
No, it was the. No, it was called the show, the after party in the hotel. So I would have a show, and the first 2 hours would be strictly for all women. That would be the show.
R. Kelly right there.
No, that was the show. And then the after party, guess where all the men going? Where all the men going? No.
Where they going?
First is the show. And then it's the after party. It's R. Kelly.
The club.
And then the hotel.
Yeah.
So where are the men? If the women at the show, where do you think the men going?
The women at the show, the men should be at the show.
No, it's the show, right? It's the actual show that I'm sponsoring, and all the women saying we're going to the show, right? Okay, for the first 2 hours. So where do you think the men gonna go after the show is over with? So you got the show, and then you got
That's the party.
So where are the men going?
That's the party.
And guess what? They gonna pay, right?
Right.
Why? Because you got 200 women in there screaming and yelling who done seen all these men running around for 2 hours. And they need somebody. And guess where the men going? To the after party. And guess what they gonna do? They gonna spend that money because they gonna hear all them women screaming. And this is how I used to set it up. I would have the show for the ladies. And I tell the guys get there early. Because you might can't get in. So the guys gonna get there. If I tell them an hour, they gonna get there 30 minutes before because they running late. But the whole time they stand outside, guess what they hearing? Women screaming. Ah. So guess what that line doing? That line just building up. Because brothers want to get in there. So this is how bad I was. So, and then we had the hotel. So,
Right.
you know, my boys, all my dancers, I get them rooms. And, you know, do what they do.
Yeah.
And I just go to the back next day. You know, do what I do. And this is R. Kelly, the show, the after party in the hotel. You can call it what you want to call it. But that's
Because
so.
he has this, the show, and then he has a song called The After
Party, and then the hotel.
The lobby.
So that's how I went down. I was killing it. Killing it.
You was constipated, boy.
Was I constipated? And then so yeah, I mean the money was good. I was the man. I mean, I'm walking, you know. How you get all them guys work for you? How you get all them guys to work for you like that? That gift of gab. Oh, I was working it too. But now I use that gift of gab to help people.
To help people. That's
Free
what's
people.
up.
And so to answer your question, yes. If it wasn't for her, I wouldn't be in the position I am today. Because she gave me, and I mean, that's one of the stuff. She gave me the ultimatum. And what really, when I really knew she was the one for me during that time period, because I would offer to take her shopping with the money I made. She said no. I was like, the woman said no. To go shopping?
It wasn't about your money. It wasn't about that.
It wasn't. And she gave me the ultimatum. She says, you can keep throwing those parties or you can't be with me. I threw that last party though. Hang on, I got that last one in there. I got that last one.
I gotta build up the bank account quick.
I got that last party in. I was good. But no, all jokes aside, so when you read that chapter, and I don't mind telling you, she even to this day, I really thank God that He put her in my life during that time period, because she was the one that really, because she was deep. She was into the church, and I grew up in the church, so it wasn't like I didn't know. I was sliding away, and she was just like, if you're gonna be with me, you can't do that no more. I was like, what? You talking, baby? I'm baby Lou. You know what I'm saying? My ego kicking in, baby. You can't tell me what I can't do. But then when I really sat down and thought about it, she gave me the ultimatum. Guess what? I threw that last party. Got that last party in though. I snuck that joint in. I snuck that last party in, and I told her this is retirement. I ain't tell, you know, I told my boys, "What's man, you ain't gonna do this?" No, man, I can't do this no more. What's going on, man? You know, I just, you know, I won't humble enough to tell him I was in love.
He was in love, y'all.
Yeah.
Y'all listening now?
They gonna read it on there. They gonna be like,
oh, that nigga was in love.
Yeah,
that's why we got on. We ain't get no money. Yeah. All right, so again, tell them where they can find you. When the books are available. Once he posted, I will post it on my page. I will be putting it back up and, you know, blasting it out there so y'all can get the book if you want the book. Is it gonna come for Kindle too?
Yeah, it'll Kindle, the whole 9 bonds. It's gonna be Kindle, ebook. Matter of fact, I'm sending chapter 2 is going to be released probably next. Follow me on social media. They're gonna be able to download chapter 2 for free. So to get them a little taste of the medicine.
Okay.
So they'll realize when the full antidote comes.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm gonna do a free ebook chapter 2 because I want people to read chapter 2. Give me some reviews.
You have to reveal to heal. You gotta let it out. You gotta let it out in order to heal.
Yeah. So I would say the second, third week in August, you know, anything is liable to happen. Last time I had some logistical challenges. It was just I've been going through a lot just trying to get it out there. My refrigerator went out one day. And that just messed me up for 3-4 days. Cause you know it's just like one thing after another. Had some logistical challenges. I was like, wow, when is this? But you know, everything happened for a reason.
Right.
So everything has happened for a reason.
That's crazy. All right, so tell them again where they can find you.
I'm on Twitter, Dr._Flip, on Instagram, Dr._Flip07, Facebook, Dr. William Flip Clay. You can contact me directly, 1-877-787-6570. You can hit me on my cell, 301-529-0450.
All right. Dr. Flip, I want to thank you for coming into the box and chilling with Pandora.
Okay.
And giving me this book and the scoop on the Constipated. Man, go home and check myself, see if I'm constipated. I might have to take a laxative today.
You know, just read that book. You be good, girl.
Cause some of my friends be like, "Boy, you constipated. That's what's wrong with you." I'm gonna give you a book, and you need to read it.
Read it.
That's Christmas gifts.
And that was a good conversation.
I'm about to send all my exes the constipated. Yes, that's what's wrong with you. You was constipated.
That's a serious gift. You know, brothers don't read though. But
I know a few.
But you know what?
But the ones in jail ain't got no choice. So.
But you know what? You know what? That's deep.
Hey, that's what it. If you want a book read,
right.
Send it to him while he locked up.
Yeah. I mean, you're looking at Kevin Gates. Yeah. Kevin Gates scored a 31 on the ACT test at the age of 16.
That boy.
And he's very smart and talented.
They underestimate him.
But he probably learned a lot of people.
But I wonder, is that why they keep locking him up?
Well,
I mean, he doing some stupid stuff.
He's doing some stupid stuff, but guess what?
There's people out here doing stupider stuff.
But Kevin Gates will tell you he's emotionally incarcerated. Mm-hmm. They just don't. We don't have a term to place with his emotional instability.
A diagnosis for him.
A diagnosis for him. But now I can say
they could get him some help.
I can say he's emotionally incarcerated and emotionally. He's emotionally incarcerated, and that and his emotional incarceration caused him to be physically incarcerated, which in turn caused you to self-reflect and go back to Kevin Gates' childhood when he went through his trigger, which caused him to be in the position he's in today. And 8 times out of 10, most males, professionally, in any professional capacity who are grown, we're emotionally constipated and emotionally incarcerated. So now it's time for us to sit down on that toilet and get this out of you and start the process. And then just send me an email telling me, appreciate it, bro. So no problems. I can keep on freeing people. But no, I'm looking forward. I'm excited about the next year or so. I've been reading now. I've just been every day. I'm looking forward to the first talk show. I don't know which one the talk show is gonna call me first. I'm debating. I don't know. I'm just thinking about. I wake up every day. Say, which one of y'all gonna call me first? So I'm waiting.
Well, if Wendy call you, go on her show because she constipated. Wendy Williams is constipated.
Well.
And the one that like to save people's lives, Ivana, she's constipated too, but she hide it by working on everybody else's problems except her own. Ivana, you need to come see Pandora. I can help you. You are constipated, my sister.
Yeah, because I have a new nickname. I call myself the Chocolate Dr. Phil, Dr. Flip.
Dr. Flip.
The Chocolate Dr.
Okay.
No, because most people are familiar with Dr. Phil.
Right.
Okay, well, I just be the Chocolate Dr. Phil.
He constipated too. He got problems. I don't understand. Oh, see, yeah, but
you gotta be careful what you say on the air. You don't understand what?
Internet radio, baby.
You can say what you want to say. What you want to say?
Can't say no to nothing. I gotta say no to nothing. No. Let it go.
Yeah, let it go. But no, I came up with that concept about 4 weeks ago. I said, I like the idea of being a Chocolate Dr. Phil. Because everybody know Dr. Phil.
Right.
I mean, and I don't have nothing against him, but we need a chocolate version.
Right.
For us,
right.
by us.
For us, by us.
Dr. Flip.
Because a lot of the little stuff, the things that he tell them to do to fix it, that only work in a Caucasian's home. In our home, that ain't going to work. Mama going to fix it the way she going to fix it.
At the end of the day. So we need and again, it's about being culturally relevant. Even though this book is for every man, for anybody and everybody, it's culturally written for us because I'm black.
Right.
I personally and professionally been through it, and I see it every day, and I work with it every day.
Right.
So it makes it easier, prayerfully, that it'll be more, acceptable and more amenable to people to say, I'm constipated, and it's okay.
All right, y'all. This your girl Pandora. Me and Dr. I want to say Dr. Phil, Dr. Flip. Me and Dr. Flip. Thank y'all for tuning in. Like I say, check out my page, like the Pandora Word Box Show page, And things will be up there. I will be updating whatever he puts out. I'll be updating it up there. So when everything come out, you'll have it. Thank y'all for tuning in.
Thank
Catch
you.
y'all same time next week, right here on Win DC Radio, powered by Go Win Media, from 12 to 2 p.m. Right now, I'm about to play the sequel, a new release, first exclusively played here on the Pandora Wordbox Show by DC's own Smoke D, and of course featuring John A.
Yeah. DC's own Smoke D. You know they say people come to your life for a reason, right? Or sometimes a season. Or however it go. But anyway, you know, oh well. Gonna stress it. Out my biz. That's how it is.